Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and by good morning, I mean good morning, because it's 2 p.m. here. BattleNet, I think it's coming back online, but one of the great things about server maintenance is that it frees up more time to do videos. Yay! So, this video, though, is going to be kind of a special video. Have been a lot of games where Terran players have been losing recently, and not necessarily because they were playing bad, but it was more because the other players were playing really well. So I kind of want to just go over. Damn it. Okay, there we go. All right, I want to go over, and I'm trying this out. We'll see what the feedback is. But I want to go over the Soulkey versus Maru game played on Merry-Go-Round a couple days ago in Pro League, but not from Maru's point of view, from Soulkey's point of view. So for all the Zerg players out there, and there's probably no Zerg players that watch this because so far I've just done Terran videos, but for all the Zerg players out there, this one's for you. Alright. So the reason why I want to try this is because sometimes there's just videos where I want to say, like, this Terran player didn't play that well because of blah 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 blah. But if I'm analyzing the Terran player, it's kind of hard to point out his flaws. And it doesn't necessarily, it's not really productive. It's kind of just bringing some negative criticism without any real evidence to back it up other than my own thoughts. So, I think a better way to kind of point out the Terran flaws is by pointing out the other race's strengths. So in this case, we're going to be taking a look at what Soulkey did and kind of how he was able to outplay Maru in a very convincing fashion. Maru, he's a very good Terran player, became very good after medevac boosting was became a thing in Heart of the Swarm. I'm sure it's no coincidence that medevac boosts helped him win a lot of money because he is a very aggressive Terran player. But with that aggression comes over-aggression. One of the good things about being an aggressive player is that you practice a lot more micro. You know, you kind of like can look for areas to hit your opponents and kind of find weak spots in their defense. One of the downfalls of being an aggressive player is that sometimes you are prone to over-aggression and over-microing. It's kind of a double-edged sword here. And in this game, Maru makes several mistakes where he is over-aggressive with his units. Maybe he didn't realize it now. That's just one of the ways his style is weak, is that you don't really realize you're being over-aggressive until you actually lose and you are out of the game and watching the replay, and you'll be like, oh, well, like from an observer standpoint, it's obviously a lot more of a bird's eye view than it is from the player's standpoint. So it's a lot easier to point out when Maru is being over-aggressive outside of the game than it is inside of the game, when it's actually happening. But I'll point that out when we get to it. And then also, like, he didn't need to move out as well. Like, he was very far behind, but he kind of just went for like a YOLO push and kind of just got wrecked. That's essentially what happened. The correct response to Soulkey's strong macro play is to play a macro game yourself. And that would include taking a fourth base, trying to be in a defensive positioning to prevent Mutalisk Karask, or even to kind of not go all ham with drop play, but use drops to kind of prevent the Mutalisks from doing a considerable amount of damage. And you can't really let Soulkey get like a little advantage either, because that can easily snowball into something that gets out of control really fast. And the best way to neutralize that kind of advantage is by kind of drawing the game out, taking more bases, and kind of like making more at stake so that the mistakes that you made earlier are not so inconsequential when the game goes later into the game. When the game goes later into the no, when the game goes later on. So we see here Soulkey, he's opening up with a very standard macro speedling expand, but what's not so standard is this Roach Warren we see here. And a second gas. So right now, Soulkey, to Maru's point of view, it looks like Soulkey, like once Maru scouts it, that Soulkey is going to be doing a 3-base all-in of Roach baneling. But Soulkey does a really cool job of kind of masking the fact that he's going to play a macro game and that this is purely pressure. He has creep spread over on that side of the map. I really like his decision to spread creep over there with his first 3 tumors, or with his first tumor growing 3 times. Here, I'll go back just so I can show his creep spreading. So right here, his creep spread starts over here. It's not like way over here so that the Reapers can pick it off, especially 3 Reapers. They can 2-shot a creep tumor. So it's over here where it's safe, first of all. Next, it goes out here. It kind of gives a little bit of vision for when Reapers come up. And plus, this one's safer because you have multiple queens and speed is done. But instead of going out towards the 3rd base, Soulkey instead chooses to move the tumor over here. And what this tumor does is it gives him a creep spread over here. And it lets him hide 2 evolution chambers to kind of hide the fact that he is playing a macro game and that this Roach baneling pressure is in fact not all in. Maru does a good job of not overreacting towards this, and we see the baneling nest going down as well, but Soulkey has no intentions of committing. He immediately puts down 2 evolution chambers, so he's not even far behind. He's not really even behind, I would say, because he forces a lot of defense out of Maru as well. He's just changed the pace of the game to be more uncomfortable for Maru and more comfortable for him, which I think is very, very smart of him to do. It also makes Maru more likely to mess up on aggression because all of the normal timings that Maru normally hits and can be successfully aggressive in are now kind of wonked up because of this Roach baneling threat. So Soulkey kind of doing a really good job disturbing Maru's rhythm of the game. And that makes it all the much harder to kind of know when to fight and when not to fight. So he's done absolutely no damage, Soulkey that is. He hasn't even made a single baneling. All he did was drone up, and he essentially used the roaches to force Maru back, and he now has map control. So normally a Terran player would be expanding right now to his 3rd base, but Maru has to kind of stay a little bit safer because of Soulkey's fake Roach aggression, and he's going to have to wait until medevacs come out to be able to expand to his 3rd base safely. And now he also doesn't have any vision of what Soulkey is doing either. He has no ability to stop Soulkey's creep spread, and so Soulkey pretty much has uncontested creep spread right now, which is great for him. And that's also going to make his 3rd base a lot easier to take as well. I mean his 4th, or Soulkey's 4th base. So another good thing that Soulkey's doing, his overlords are spread out in a million different positions. He has complete control of this area if Maru decides to drop, complete control here if he decides to drop. He has 2 overlords here to spot, kind of like just act as spotters for where Maru's army is, kind of like mini watchtowers. So Soulkey, he's so far set himself up for a fantastic macro game, and he's also taking a 4th base behind this. Now, one of the interesting decisions that Soulkey makes here is that he decides not to make a single baneling. One of the reasons is because baneling speed is not going to be ready to do a big attack. Another reason is Soulkey does not want to do a big attack, and what he wants to do is right here, being able to surround Maru like this and kind of just clean up all his Hellions, and now these Lings are super effective. So why did this work, first of all? Well, like I said earlier, Maru's timings are all kind of messed up from Soulkey's fake Roach baneling play. Uh, Normally, if Soulkey did commit to a Roach baneling play and Maru was able to not take substantially game-ending damage, then Maru's push would in fact do a lot more damage than it just did right now. But since Soulkey didn't lose a single unit and he droned up behind it, the game was very even, and Maru kind of... He also didn't have a watchtower vision as well. It's another subtle thing to point out. So we see here, there's a bunch of Lings here, there's a bunch of Lings here, and there's Roaches in the middle of the watchtower. And, oh, damn it. But basically, what Maru does is he pokes in to see a bunch of Roaches holding the watchtower, and then he kind of stims forward to try to kill the Roaches, because all he sees are the Roaches, and then he's like, oh shit, there's a bunch of Zerglings coming to me. And he tries to clean them up, but he doesn't see the second wave of Zerglings. And it's all about denying this watchtower vision so that Maru doesn't even see Soulkey's entire army. So we see Maru kind of like, he's like, oh shit, he sees the Roaches and Lings. Then he's like, oh shit, well, it's just Roaches and Lings. I can micro against this and clean it up. And then another flank comes in by Soulkey. That was hidden because Maru didn't have the watchtower vision. So that was just fantastic play by Soulkey, being able to set himself up to take a very good engagement. And Soulkey still has not made a single baneling. That's pretty impressive. It was all based on the fact that Maru was caught out of position. He had insufficient information about Soulkey's army, and his timing was messed up ever so slightly by the Roach baneling attack. Well, Roach baneling fake out, because he didn't really attack, let's be honest there. So, okay, so let's just take a look at that fight one more time. I'm not going to pause it this time. So he sees these two units, then he tries to fight, and then he sees all of those Zerglings, and he's just like, oh shit. So Maru still makes the best out of a good situation, but like he moves his Marines and stuff over there to kind of get buffered by the SCV's mining and the mineral lines, kind of create a choke point against the Zerglings. But Soulkey's already done a tremendous amount of damage. Not only has he completely cleaned up Maru's army, he has also been able to secure himself a fourth base. He is able to successfully get out a bunch... Well, okay, yeah, he has his fourth base secured. His creep spread still has not been touched this entire game. And he has cleaned up Maru's armies, so that ensures that the creep spread isn't going to be touched for even longer. It's going to give Soulkey some breathing room. He can safely get out the Mutalisks. He doesn't need to make any banelings because he's not going to be under attack. And after he gets the Mutalisks out, he's going to be safe to drone up because Maru's going to have to be on the defensive against 13 Mutalisks. That's more than enough to kill a turret. Like, you know, no number of SCVs can repair the turret fast enough for 13 Mutalisks to not be able to kill it. The turret just dies too fast. So Maru still ends up cleaning this up. He ends up finishing off the Roaches, which is kind of nice. Some little stutter step micro, but really that's inconsequential to the big scheme of things. And now Maru's army is also way out of position. These Mutalisks are going to do a tremendous amount of damage. And now that Soulkey has the momentum as a result of what Maru was doing, this Mutalisk Harask also kind of pushes the momentum further, and he's able to safely drone up behind it. Maru's army is caught out of position. It's kind of that over-aggression theme coming in here. He didn't need to chase those Roaches down. Like, killing the 3 Roaches for free was good, but his army is now completely out of position, and these Mutalisks are going to do a lot of damage as well because of that. So, like, we can see that it paid off, but it paid off more for Soulkey. Yeah, I think that's a good way to phrase it. And now, these Mutalisks, they're able to do a lot of damage. Soulkey's Mutalisk micro is fantastic. Notice he just targets like one SCV at a time, and then he gets out. He still killed a good amount of workers. And now Maru's just going for, or no, not Maru. Soulkey's going for like just a big attack. Half of Maru's army was out of position. his other half is chasing the Mutalisks, so doing a big Zergling baneling attack into Maru's front where there's going to be the fewest amount of units is a very intelligent choice by Soulkey. And yeah, this does a lot of damage. Killing all those SCVs right there, it's not the end of the game because the Terran player has mules. However, it does put the Terran player very, very far behind. He actually killed off all of those workers. Jeez. So Soulkey accomplished really good things with that attack and with the Mutalisks, and now we can see his economy is booming. It's even better than Maru's economy, and Maru has mules. That's when you know you're in a good position as a Zerg player, when you can outmine mules. And so now Maru, he's kind of like right now. I think the correct decision by him would be to play very defensive, set up maybe a bunker or two, have his Marines positioned in the natural and the main base, max out, or not max out, take a fourth base, and then max out on units before you try to go for an engagement. Because right now Soulkey's economy is really, really strong, and he has an advantage too, so he can produce more units than Maru can right now. So attacking into Soulkey's army when Soulkey has a bigger army and he can produce more units at a time is just not a very smart decision by Maru. And this is where he kind of just YOLOs it because he's really far behind. I think he's already given up on the game. He just wants to see what he can get done because Soulkey has thrown a lot of units away. He still has done a good job of cutting down Maru's army as well. Maru kind of scans there. He's like, oh man, he can't push out just yet. He's doing a good job of swatting the Mutalisks away. This here though, like, so he zoned out the Mutalisks, and then he tried to clear creep because that was the first scan to clear creep the entire game. 15 minutes into the game, and the first scan to clear creep goes down. That's not good for our Terran player. That's fantastic for our Zerg player. So Soulkey, all he has to do is max out and then take a fifth base, tech to hive, get Ultralisks out, and deny Maru's fourth base. What Maru needs to do is turtle hard, take a fourth base, and try not to take too much more damage from the Mutalisks. But we can see here Maru, he's not turtling hard, and Soulkey is going to abuse that, and he's setting up for... No, those are the Mutalisks. So the Mutalisks are just going around, and they're going to try to do some more damage. But Soulkey's standing army is huge right now, and yeah, he's getting that infestation pit because he's safe from any attack that Maru does. Any attack, like even this attack, it's a big army by Maru, but it's not going to do any damage because Soulkey's army is equally as big, and there's no way that Maru can trade cost efficiently against this. And he's not even fighting on creep. He doesn't have enough Widow Mines. He doesn't have enough of an army. That was a good concave by Maru, but these Mutalisks aren't even part of the fight, so he's taking a lot of damage, and that kind of forces Maru into a fight that he does not want to take, but he needs to in order... Like, he needs to take an insane fight. He needs to kill all of those banelings for almost nothing in order to come back from the game. And, like, we see he's splitting, but it's kind of just instinctual splitting. It's not necessarily based on the fact that he's taking a good fight. He's just so used to splitting and trying to get the best engagements possible. And that kind of is him being over... He's, like, over-microing when there are bigger things at hand that he could... Or, like, better decisions that he could be doing to get back into this game rather than trying to out-micro Soulkey. Like, he still tries to do the best job he can, but Soulkey just has too many banelings. And this is mostly because Soulkey's Roach baneling aggression, or Roach Zergling, I don't even know how to say it. Like, just Soulkey's game plan was very, very intelligent, and he basically threw Maru off guard with an unconventional timing, and then macroed up behind it so that the macro game would be more in favor of Soulkey than Maru in terms of timings, and kind of like your in-game game sense clock. And then also he he was able to take some good engagements at the watchtower with the roaches and the zerglings, cleaning up Maru's entire initial force because Maru was caught out of position, and then kind of chip away at Maru, dealing a lot of economic damage to his third base, and doing damage to the main and the natural base with the Mutalisks as well. So Soulkey, very, very tactical player. He had some fantastic positioning on top of a very solid game plan, and Maru just wasn't able to adapt to that and successfully defeat Soulkey because of that. And we can see here, this is a pretty large map. That's a lot of creep tumors. And like another benefit of what Soulkey was doing is, since the momentum was in his game, or he was able to put it in his game because of the initial Zergling Roach attack, he was able to spread his creep out very, very far. And Maru was only scanned once to kill like one active creep tumor. So Soulkey's creep has really not been slowed down at all. And we see here Maru, he's just going for one more maxed out fight army. He's not making any more SCVs. He just wants to max out. He has a really big army, so he just wants to take one good engagement and hopefully like stomp over him. Like, this is one thing to worry about as a Zerg player, but Soulkey, he has his 5th base. He's getting the Ultralisk Cavern, and he's gonna have enough Ultra Banes. And like this right here, I really like this by Soulkey because this buys him a lot more time for his Ultralisks to finish up. Like, Maru could be moving out right now, but instead he has to go to the 3rd base and defend it before he moves out. And now he's gonna move out now. And even though he has like 30 more supply in army, his army value isn't even as big as Soulkey's. And now, it's just a lot. Like, it just comes down to one big fight. The time is on Soulkey's hands. All he has to do is kind of wait until his Ultralisks are done, and then he'll be able to remax on Ultralisks and clean up the remaining army. Still like really good splits by Maru, but like, that's to be expected because his army is significantly larger because he's lost a lot of SCVs. So this is like, it's a pretty smart move by Maru to kind of wait for a maxed out fight and then try to attack, but Ultra Banelings just do way too much damage to Marines. Marines do almost no damage to Ultralisks, and he didn't have enough Marauders left alive to deal with the Ultra cleanup. So even though Maru was able to kind of get his way back into the game, Soulkey was able to stop Maru by that Zergling Baneling attack at the 3rd base. Bought him some valuable time to be able to get out the Ultralisks, because as we saw, Maru had already killed off Soulkey's 4th base. He was right at the natural, so if Soulkey hadn't bought time with that Zergling Baneling attack, even though it was completely inefficient, it was to buy time, then Maru would have been in a much better position to kind of take the game, because he was kind of right on Soulkey's neck. And if Soulkey hadn't gotten those Ultralisks out when he did, then he probably wouldn't have been able to clean up the army. So I guess that about wraps this video up. It's not really, I don't know, I do talk about Soulkey a lot more. I'm not a Zerg player though, so I can't talk about like all of the little things that he did, but hopefully I got some good points across that make sense to both the Terran and the Zerg players. And like, you need to know your enemy if you want to defeat your enemy. I'm pretty sure a wise person said that. It sounds pretty smart. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of this video, and if I should do some more kind of like, I'll do PvT videos if the Protoss player was playing really well, or TVZ videos if the Zerg player was doing really well, and kind of focus on what they were doing well, because like, I don't really like to analyze games where the Terran player loses, because I don't want to teach you guys how to lose or how not to lose, because there's like a million different ways to lose. So yeah, let me know what you think, and don't forget to subscribe too, and I will see you all later. Goodbye.